last Bet on It college football edition of the 2023 season. We're going to talk some, at least more interesting bowls than we have in the past. Kelly Stewart from wagertalk.com here in Nashville, Tennessee. Don't mind the weird, as Marco put it, OnlyFans setup behind me. Let's bring in Marco D'Angelo and Joe Raineri. Today's going to be a great show. Prayers to us for no connection issues. And that, we finally don't cash much as we did last night with UNLV. Let's move right along, guys, because this is going to be a quick show. Peach Bowl, Saturday, December 30th, ABC, noon Eastern. Ole Miss versus Penn State. Penn State up to a 4-point favorite here. 48.5 is the total. Marco D'Angelo, Lane Kiffin has been very, very good in the transfer portal, but he's lost some guys to that same said transfer portal. Is that why we've seen this one tick up in James Franklin's favor?
Well, Kelly, if you've been following the bowl games and everybody who's in, who's out, who's supposed to be out, but then throws 6 touchdown passes, it's just been absolute chaos in the bowl so far. And if you're following day of the game line moves, I'll pray for you because they have been pure trash so far through the bowl games. But as you said, we're getting to the more meaningful bowl games, and I think we're going to see some more stability in play and what's happening with the lines. And I'm looking at this Penn State game, and ironically, you've got 2 teams in this bowl game. Both have 10-2 records. Both of the 2 losses for both teams came against their conference's 2 best teams. Mississippi lost to Georgia and Alabama. Penn State lost to Ohio State and Michigan. Now, I will say this much. I think the SEC was down just a notch this year from its normal standards. And that starts with the team that actually ended up winning it, Alabama. We know that they lost to Texas on their home field earlier in the year. We also know that they were life and death with Arkansas. And we know they had the miracle of all miracles against Auburn to get where they are at, playing for a national championship. But I look at this Penn State team, and other than those 2 teams, Michigan and Ohio State, who happen to be 2 of the top 5 defenses in the country, Penn State has fared well this year. And everybody talked about how bad the offense was in those 2 games. Well, they were against great defenses. That's not what Mississippi has. And I look at Mississippi and I look at their schedule. There were 3 games that Mississippi got stuffed this year defensively. Obviously, the Alabama and Georgia game were 2 of them. I think Penn State's going to have success in this game. They've had a month to prepare a game plan. Remember, they fired their offensive coordinator late in the season, right after that Michigan debacle. And they had co-offensive coordinators. So Mississippi, in preparing for this game, really doesn't have a lot to look at on film of what Penn State's going to bring. I think Penn State's going to open things up in this one, and they'll be bringing that tenacious defense with them. I'm going to lay the points. James Franklin, when we're looking at bowl games, one of the things that we got to do this time of the year is motivation. He got a lot of heat when he dropped the second game of the season to Michigan with the old saying, hey, it's nice you win all these games, but you can't win a big one. I think he needs this one more than Lane Kiffin does, and I think Penn State gets it done. Penn State wins this one. I'm laying the points with Penn State. 31-20, I'm calling for the win.
Now, it is still a few days away from game day, but this one is on the move even more. Now start to see 4.5s pop up on the Wager Talk odds screen. Joe Raineri, I agree with everything Marco said, but you know who's coming for Gundy's underdog record? Oh, yeah, Lane Kiffin. Love to bet Lane as an underdog, and it's getting more enticing by the minute.
Yeah, no, it is, but the problem that I have here, and I agree with Marco's stance, but I don't know that a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to prepare is going to help the Penn State offense do anything other than disappoint anybody who ever backs them here in this one. And we have already seen Ole Miss against elite defenses. All of a sudden, the Lane Kiffin of the go version of his, where we're going tempo, we're going speed, we're going to try to hit the outside. That doesn't work against elite defenses that have just as much speed as your offense. And we've usually seen Jackson Dart run for his life against the better defenses that they faced this year. So I don't trust Ole Miss in any way, shape, or form to be able to go out there and just push around his Penn State defense. And we already know I can't trust Penn State to have some sort of prolific offensive game here against what I think is a decent Ole Miss defense here coming out of the SEC. I think when any which way you cut it, I want nothing to do with the sides here, but I'm going to go under that 48.5 because I do think both offenses are going to struggle in this game. And oh, by the way, Spencer Sanders apparently ineligible in case Jackson Dart gets absolutely bulldozed and can't continue in the game, which is very possible behind that offensive line. They got nobody else to play quarterback, Ole Miss. So this is just a nightmare of a game, I think. I do believe under some more because the defenses can be trusted. The offenses cannot here.
All right, a game that I'm excited for, the Rose Bowl, Monday, January 1st, ESPN, 5:30 Eastern. Alabama is a 2-point underdog versus Michigan, total 45. This is going to be an awesome game, Joe Raineri, but I'm going to talk about it at the end of the show.
Oh, all right. Well, this is another one of these games that may be surprising, but Marco, I'm going to watch the full game. I'm not going to go the first half. Although I did consider it, I am not going to lie to you. I do think, however, I think this number was a little low as far as the total goes in this one. And while I do lean that, listen, one coach and certainly has a history of, as a dog, or when people don't think they can win, that's usually when he shows up and sticks it to them, and that is Nick Saban. And we've seen Harbaugh and this Michigan team figure out how to beat the Big Ten. Congratulations. You figured out finally how to beat Ohio State. But you couldn't beat TCU. You couldn't beat Alabama a couple of years ago, could you, either? So that's the problem when expecting Michigan State as a favorite to win these games, going up against a Nick Saban school that, oh, we're the underdog? Is that how that works? It's usually a recipe for disaster. But I think we've seen both of these defenses, they can be scored upon. I mean, we did see Ohio State drop, 24 in this Michigan defense. And I do think that Michigan's offense is versatile enough to be able to put some points on this Alabama defense here. I don't think I don't think they're just going to be able to push Alabama's defensive front around. I think they're going to have to go in the air, and I'm okay with that. We've also seen Alabama's defense get lit up by mobile quarterbacks. And although McCarthy's not exactly the most mobile of guys, the threat of him being able to run is going to open up some more passing lanes here, I think. 44.5, now up to 45. I agree with the direction it's heading. I think we're going to get way more points in this game than maybe what the market does. So I'm looking at the over all day in this one.
Interesting. That is going to be a little bit opposite of what I think, Joe, happens in this game. But Marco, you kind of have to wonder, Alabama at this point, are they just beyond a square dog? We saw 1.5 was kind of where it was for almost 2. And now it's back up to 2, some 2.5s for Michigan. But people are running to the window to bet the Tide.
Yeah, Kelly, and what Joe said about Nick Saban is true, and the public knows that too. And You can get the old hype of an SEC underdog. Come on, against the Big Ten team. Those are, urban myths from yesteryear. Okay, we're talking about now. Yeah, that worked in the past, but we're talking this year. And I get it. A one-loss SEC champion has to be in the playoffs. I get it. But I still can't get past the fact that this Alabama team lost on their home field to Texas. As I said in a previous video, they were life and death with Arkansas, and they should have lost to Auburn, okay? And look at that game against Georgia. Georgia, we know, has a good defense. Their defense isn't as good as Michigan's. And in that game, although it was a 27-24 score, 41 rushing attempts for Alabama, 114 yards. Are you kidding me? What are they going to get against Michigan's defense? And I know the MO on Jim Harbaugh, but here's my scenario, what I'm looking at. It's not often in life you get a mulligan, okay? Michigan's getting a mulligan from last year. They lost that TCU game, all right? Did they think they were going to just show up and roll over TCU? Maybe. TCU had a great game plan. TCU had a month to prepare for the game. All of that, and Michigan failed miserably. They're not going to do that again. Jim Harbaugh, what a season it's been off the field with all of the problems at Michigan, the stealing, all of that. What better way to ride off into the sunset with a big middle finger up in the air to the NCAA is you win a national championship and then head off back to the NFL, which is what I think is going to happen. Either way, I'm going to look at Michigan and I'm going to look at that defense, and I think they're going to dominate Alabama. And there were too many times this year that Alabama gave up a lot of points. Do you remember the Tennessee game? They were getting trounced in the first half. Somehow made some adjustments at halftime, found a way to win that game. I remember that one vividly because I almost tore my ticket up at halftime that I had on Alabama. That's why. That would have been not good when they came back and cashed. I just don't trust this Alabama team. I'm going to take Michigan. I am going to lay the points with them, and I think actually the number is soft. You had Georgia was a 5.5-point favorite against Alabama. Are you really going to tell me right now you put Michigan and Georgia on a neutral field that Georgia's a 3-point favorite over Michigan? No, I don't think so. I'm taking Michigan. I'm laying the points. But, Joe, I do kind of agree with you. My projected score is 31-23 Michigan. So that bodes well for you in the over. And maybe they'll get the over in, like, maybe the third quarter. So you only have to watch 3/4 of the game.
Thank you.
Instead of the whole game.
Yes.
All right, let's move right along to the Sugar Bowl. Monday, January 1st, 8:45 Eastern. Texas is a 4-point favorite versus Washington. Total 63.5. Marco, this one was in contention for my best bet. But Gas fans tell me how much I love to bet against their team and how much I must hate them. By the way, I'm 4-2 against the spread betting against Texas this year for what it's worth. I do like the points here with Washington. I do think that they have been underestimated for a better part of the season. And yes, they did go through that rough stretch where maybe they cared or maybe they didn't care. That something's kind of going on there in Texas. Quinn Ewers is coming back. Arch Manning's going to be the backup here with Malik Murphy entering the transfer portal. Kind of thinking this might be a sell high on Texas. Just getting a little too much love in the marketplace. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to be out on an island by myself, Kelly, and I knew if I was going to be looking at Texas, I was going to be there by myself with you. But we'll see what Joe chimes in with. And well, Kelly, it's I get it. You're cashing the tickets, and that's good. But in this game, I don't think so. And believe me, nobody has liked Washington more this year than I have. I love Michael Penix Jr. I thought he really deserved the Heisman Trophy as well, but just didn't work out. I thought that he secured that in the Pac-12 championship game when he put Washington on his back and carried them to that victory. But I'm looking at Texas, and let's be honest about Texas. The only reason that Texas got in is because of Alabama, okay? As I said, you had to put a one-loss SEC champion in the national championship. But you couldn't put Alabama in the championship without bringing Texas along because everybody would have been up in arms leaving out Texas, who beat Alabama, which I agree 100%. And I'm not saying Texas doesn't belong here. I'm just saying that this might have been the year that an SEC team didn't deserve to be here. I like this Texas team. They've done everything asked of them. They've lost one game this year, and it was by a field goal in their rivalry against Oklahoma. Now, I get it. The Big 12 doesn't play defense. I get that they are bolting for the SEC next year. All of we get it. And teams had targets on their backs, Texas, all year long. But they lived up to it. The only team that beat them was the team that was Yes, I'm taking Texas in this game. Washington, that stretch during the middle of the season scares me. After they beat Oregon the first meeting, which was a great game. They seemed to play too many games, Kelly, where they played not to lose instead of playing to win. They managed to win all those games, and that's why they're here, but they had too many scares in that. They're going to be facing a very good Texas team, and Texas can get physical with you as well. I like this, and you talk about the quarterback coming back. Well, I'm talking about when he came back at the end of the season. This team put up 57 and 49 points the final 2 games of the season. I just think Washington beating Oregon that second time might have taken a little bit too much out of them. And as you said, yeah, the public gave them no shot in that game. They got totally disrespected against Oregon. They were a 9-point underdog on a neutral field, which ended up being ridiculous as we saw the outcome. They're getting their share of respect now, but Texas is the team that I think is the more balanced team, running the football and throwing the football. And I'll take that Texas defense in this one. We know the Big 12 doesn't play a lot of defense, but I like what we saw from Texas this year. They match up better with Washington, in my opinion. I'm going to go ahead and take Texas. I got Texas winning 38-27.
All right, Joe, you get the tiebreak.
Yeah, so Marco is right. This Texas defense has been absolutely amazing. In fact, I think they are rated somewhere top 3 or top 4 in the nation when it comes to defending the run. The problem is Washington is more than happy to throw more than 60% of the damn time. And in fact, the last time this Texas defense saw a prolific passing offense like they're about to see was against, Oklahoma and Dylan Gabriel. And how did that work out for Texas in that game? Yeah, it didn't work out that well. This is a different animal. And yes, Marco is absolutely correct. Washington doesn't play a whole lot of defenses in the Pac-12. Well, Texas ain't playing a whole lot of prolific offenses like they're going to see in this one either. And when they have, especially that secondary of Texas, if there's one problem with that Texas defense, it's their secondary, and they give up the explosive plays. Every time for the last month and a half, the market has told us Washington's defense, whether it be Oregon not once or twice, or Oregon State, they can't stop the run. They're going to get lit up. They're a dog. And here they are, another dog in a spot here against a team that's supposed to be better in every facet. I'm not buying. So what I'm doing in this here is right now, they're a plus 155 money line dog in this matchup. They're 7-1 to win the national championship here. I see no reason not to take them right now at 7-1 to win the entire thing, because I'm telling you, Texas, this is going to be Texas OU 2. It didn't work out really well the first time for Texas in that one. I think there are going to be a ton of points in this game. I'm with Marco. Expect points. Expect Washington, though, to be playing for a national championship in a couple of weeks.
Before we get into best bets, yesterday I asked the group chat, I said, hey, guys, Washington, and I need them to win the college football playoff to win Ralph's college football pool. And I said, guys, should I hedge? Do you think Joe Raineri shared any of that with me before I agreed to chop?
Don't hedge?
He did not. So
do not.
CT and I already agreed to chop.
Oh, that's right. Well, that's all right, because now you can just double down with the 7-1.
Washington.
Take the 7-1.
Right.
Take the 7.
Then I could have gotten anyway. Friends, what do you need enemies if your friends are like this? Okay, so this is what we're going to do, guys. We're going to go just right into it. Best bet time. Okay, better defense plus the points is what I always say. But guess what? The bookmakers march Michigan out there as a favorite. So I've got to lay a little bit here for my last best college bet of the season. I cannot wait to figure out how I lose this one. Bowl games have been absolutely atrocious for me, and I expect this one to be no different. What do we know about Alabama? Well, they've got a pretty prolific running game, but I don't think that's going to be an issue for Michigan's defense that held Iowa to less than 1.5 yards per carry just weeks ago in the Big Ten final. And Blake Corum, hey, we know that he has been absolutely electric for the Wolverines, especially in the red zone. Joe kind of tempted me here with the over. I thought maybe we'd see more of a 31-13 type final with this Michigan defense, but maybe Alabama gets a little bit more on the passing side of things. But hey, Michigan's passing game, they have not been that great either. What am I saying? I need to redo this. Let me start over.
No problem.
I just want to redo. Ready? All right. The bowl games have not been good to me. So this is our last best bet for the bowl season. And don't let the door hit you in the ass. I have more CLV trophies than I care to have and somehow win all the ones that go against me. It makes no sense. And normally in this situation, I'd say, give me the better defense plus the points. But the bookmakers marched Michigan out there as a short favorite. I laid 1.5 just a few short weeks ago when I was told that everybody was betting Alabama hand over fist. They couldn't get enough. They were betting Alabama to win the national championship. No discredit to what Alabama was able to do after that USF game. They found a quarterback in Jalen Milroe, but I think he's going to have a very rough day against this defense. And on the flip side of things, Alabama's got a really great running game, but Michigan's defense was able to hold to under 2 yards a carry in the Big Ten final. I think we see more of the same. While I don't disagree with Joe in terms of the over, I did think it was going to be more of a 31-13 type final. Give me the Wolverines. I'd even lay up to 2.5, but if it gets to 3, you're too late to the party. Marco Deanne is your final best bet for this year's college football slate.
Well, Kelly, I agree with you 100% about taking the better defense as a dog. That's profound stuff. I might have heard it somewhere before. And that's where I'm going to close out my final best bet. We talk about the bowl games that aren't a national championship game. Where's the motivation? That's the first thing you got to try to figure out. And when I look at Iowa and I look at Tennessee, I got to feel that this Iowa team is the team that's going to be motivated in this one. They had a 10-win season. That is a good season for Iowa. Yeah, they've been laughing stock about their offense. I get it. But, they did face some pretty good defenses in the Big Ten. We know about Penn State. We know about Michigan. I am going to back them here. They have by far and away the best defense in this game, and they're getting 8 points. Now, I can tell you, I sent that in last night at 8. We've seen today the line starting to drop. It seems like every time I pick a game, the line starts to move against me, or with me, I should say, but I still like them in this spot. Where does Tennessee get the motivation for this game? They're 8-4 on the season. They lost 2 of their last 3 games. They beat their in-state little brother, Vanderbilt, to close out the season. But I look at what they did against Missouri. I look what they did against Georgia. They scored 7 and 10 points. They gave up 36 and 38 in those 2 games. Granted, Iowa's not going to score in the 30s in this game, but they are going to hold this Tennessee offense in check. And with a month to prepare, I am thinking Iowa might have just found maybe just a couple wrinkles to get a couple offensive plays of more than 10 yards. They're going to get enough to get the win in this one. I think they actually win the game outright. We're getting points. That's a bonus. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Iowa. I'm going to run with that number 2 elite defense getting a touchdown. Take Iowa. 23-20 outright upset.
Marco, I agree with you. I also like Iowa, and I wish you would have told me that yesterday because that's who the other guy has in the college football pool. That would be, Tennessee. And because you don't have your Wager Talk odds screen open, I'm guessing you didn't get this news. Oops, and my screen went black. The line to 6, Marco. True freshman Nico. Oh, I'm going to butcher this so bad. Leva will start in the Citrus Bowl versus Iowa. He was the number 1 recruit in 2023. So, true freshman starting for Tennessee. Line has now dropped 1.5 points. So, we've got another CLV trophy. But, Marco, I hope you're right. I hope I just run away with Ralph's college football pool and completely regret ever agreeing to a chop. Joe Raineri, that would be a very fitting ending for this college football season. Let's see what you got for your last best bet.
You don't want Miami still? I can give them back to you if you want. We have we have a.
I almost killed you over Miami and Texas Tech. That is absolutely true. I was so mad that I got stuck with those two teams, or that I wanted to get stuck with those two teams. And
I actually believe I did her a favor because her and CT would not have an opportunity to chop if I didn't take Texas Tech and Miami early in that draft and be stuck with about as mediocre teams as humanly possible. But listen, I do think there is one game that is coming up here that does have blowout written all over it, and it's got to be Oregon taking on Liberty here. The fact that Bo Nix is coming back to play in this game, one more for the road here on his way out the door. Dan Lanning, the head coach of Oregon, everything that I have been reading over the last couple of weeks about this team is they are pissed. They are pissed on how it ended, that they couldn't beat Washington not once, but twice. He is also, and you guys have probably seen this from him, those that have been following along, the idea of Oregon being let down to play in this game against a group of 5 school, who, by the way, was phenomenal. I mean, at Liberty, nothing you can say about them, except for the fact that they're going up against the number 2 prolific pass offense in the country, while their defense ranks 103rd. They also sell out to stop the run, mostly because they don't ever have to play anybody that they got to be worried about being beaten over the top. There are levels to this, and as good a season as Liberty had, they are about to see the big difference between what a team like Oregon, the speed, the toughness. Liberty is not pushing around Oregon. Oregon is going to push Liberty up and down this field. There will be no taking the foot off the gas, by the way, for Oregon in this one, with Bo Nix on his way out the door. Listen, kudos, great season, Liberty. But the fact that 16.5 ain't close to 20, because that's exactly how much Oregon is going to win this game by. It's going to be ugly in this one here. So I'll lay the 16.5. It's a 3-touchdown or more kind of Oregon game when it's all said and done here.
All right, Joe thinks it is an absolute boat racing there by Oregon to finish off his season. Let's get that recap graphic up, you guys, to see in all of its glory. Again, thank you guys for hanging out with us this entire college football season. It has been our pleasure. I am really sorry that I did not cash any of those beautiful underdog parlays, but we did get some really nice CLV trophies for our case. And no, those do not help pay your bills. But regardless, from Marco, Joe, Ralph, VR, and myself, we hope you guys have a wonderful New Year's. Let's cash a few more tickets before we get there.